Out in front, Doctor Caulfield fires, scores!
You are about to enter Habs After Dark with Recliner Sports.
3, 2, 1, 0.
What's going on, gang? Welcome to another episode of Habs After Dark. My name is Devin, and we're here tonight following a back-to-back losses for the Montreal Canadiens for the first time this year. They were fortunately able to pick up another point in the overtime, so they don't lose in that sense. However, for the first time, they have back-to-back losses to the Philadelphia Flyers and the New Jersey Devils. Two underwhelming performances. Can I call them that? What's up, Hunter? Welcome back. I see you over there. I think this performance was probably a little better than the one in Philadelphia. I think we can attribute at least a portion of this loss to the fact that the New Jersey Devils are a pretty good hockey team. The Philadelphia Flyers, I don't think, are a very good hockey team. At least they're not nearly as good as the Devils are. But that doesn't change the fact that the Canadiens do suffer their second loss in as many games. They now, where do they sit in the standings? They are now still atop the Atlantic Division, and they are tied for the lead of the conference. Now they have a 9-3-2 record for 20 points. Jakub Dobeš got the start in nets tonight. I'm not going to say he played badly. I don't think he played badly, but I don't think his performance was at the level that it has been earlier in the season. Again, I'm sure there'll be some conversation about the goaltending and who plays on Saturday and all of that business. But I think the bottom line for tonight is that the Canadiens still have some maturing to do. Regardless of how well they've managed to play so far this season, and the results that they've gotten. Like I said, the 9-3-2 record. There's still some work to be done with this team, particularly on the experience and maturity side of things. So, welcome to the show. We're going to get into it some more. Bienvenue à l'émission, tout le monde. Le Canadien de Montréal perd pour la deuxième fois de suite 4-3 contre les Devils de New Jersey en prolongation. Ils emportent un autre point, un point perdant pour le deuxième match de suite. Alors, ils sont maintenant avec un record de 9 victoires, 3 défaites et 2 défaites en prolongation et le shootout. Ils sont au premier rang de la division Atlantique et ils sont égaux avec les New Jersey Devils pour la première position dans la conférence de l'Est. If you are new here, guys, welcome. I'm happy to have you. If you're watching live, if you're watching in a replay, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Please subscribe down below. We are trying to grow our channel. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers. We're about 30 short. So any help you can give us there would be great. We try to give you some intelligent, objective conversations about the Montreal Canadiens, and we go live after as many Montreal Canadiens games as we possibly can. We sometimes miss the West Coast games just because they're on so late. Here on the East Coast for me, sometimes I just am not able to, but for the most part, we go live after Montreal Canadiens games. Our show is called Habs After Dark. En français, ça s'appelle Bleu, Blanc, Rouge, Nuit. Nous sommes ici après chaque match des Canadiens de Montréal pour vous donner la conversation, des commentaires, répondre à vos questions au sujet du match et au sujet des Canadiens de Montréal. Alors, si vous voulez joindre à nous, être partie de notre émission, de notre famille, vous pouvez donner sur le bouton en bas pour être un membre de la communauté, le bouton de subscription en français? Je ne sais pas en français. Vous pouvez donner sur le bouton en bas. So let's get into it, guys, a little bit. I don't know what your thoughts are on that game, the positives, the negatives. For me, one of the big positives that jumps out at me tonight was the penalty killing. I thought the penalty killing was very, very good tonight, especially given that the Canadiens are, killing penalties now with some new guys. We certainly saw Jake Evans and Josh Anderson, do their thing. They've been doing it for a while. They're not new guys. Mike Matheson as well, looked pretty good out there on the penalty kill. But also guys like Alex Newhook look like they're, getting more and more comfortable as penalty killer. Oliver Kapanen, even Arbor Jacki got out there a little bit on the PK tonight and looked pretty good. A lot of block shots, a lot of sacrificing the body. Again, this team is showing some of that heart that you need to have in order to become a successful team. One of the negatives, as Randy is bringing up here, I'll put it up on the board here. The Canadiens are struggling a little bit on the 6-on-5. I think this is the second time, maybe the third, they've given up a 6-on-5 goal or a 5-on-6 goal, I guess, depending on your perspective. I mean, this is a good New Jersey team, right? And they put all of their guns out there on the ice at once, and I don't know. I haven't heard the details of Matheson's injury, Randy. Randy is referring to the fact that Matheson blocked a shot there in the last little bit of the game and was sort of down on the ice, injured when the tying goal was scored, and wasn't really able to do what he needed to do in order to try and defend the Canadiens' lead at that point. And so we'll have to wait and see what his what his injury, if anything, is, and whether it's something that's going to keep him out of any games. Hopefully that it's not. I thought he had a pretty good game tonight. I thought he played quite well. So yeah. Hey, what's up, Billy D? Welcome back. Billy D was a regular. We haven't seen him a whole lot yet this season. I know Billy is probably hanging out over with Coach a little bit. I know Coach is now doing post-game stuff. He doesn't just do the during game stuff. He's doing some post game stuff too. So there's a bunch of people I think who used to come over here that are now hanging out over there a little bit longer. But welcome, Billy. Missing Gouli. I think they are. I think you're right. Gouli obviously will help with the penalty kill. Gouli will help in those 5-on-6 situations at the end of the game. Another one of those heart and soul guys. The good news, I guess, is that Gouli was on the ice skating in Brassard today. So that means he's, his recovery is on track, and we're hopefully, usually, when you see the guy, get back on the ice for the first time, the first step is, he kind of skates alone or skates with, Adam Nicholas or one of the development staff guys. And then eventually he progresses into getting on the ice with his teammates, sometimes with a no contact jersey on. Then you get to the point where you start getting into some contact and practicing with the team, and then you're ready to get back in the lineup. Usually that's a week to week and a half process, assuming that everything goes well and that you're feeling well and everything progresses and you don't have any setbacks. So hopefully we see again. I'm not predicting this. I'm not calling this, and I haven't heard this anywhere, but hopefully we see Gouli back in the lineup, in the next week and a half or so. So I don't know exactly what it's going to mean when he comes back as far as the lineup goes. I think it's probably going to be between Struble and Jacki to see who comes out of the lineup. But again, obviously the Matheson situation is going to play into things as well. So hopefully Mike Matheson is not hurt to any degree that's going to require him to miss any games. Yeah, somebody else mentioned that. I was on TikTok during the game, Randy, while the game was on. I was watching the game, and somebody in the TikTok live mentioned that they saw Hudson get hurt as well. I didn't see it myself. Somebody said it was a collision with Timo Meier. He didn't come out of the game. He didn't go to the dressing room, I don't believe. Ivan Demidov did also take a shot off the foot that required him to go to the dressing room at one point as well. He did come back and got back in the game, but I don't know that I noticed anything from Hudson later on in the game. I don't know that it was Hudson's best game of the year. I don't know maybe that had something to do with him, favoring his arm a little bit or his wrist. as you say. But I don't think he looked like he was being slowed down by anything really in the last, you know, I don't know when that injury would have happened. I suspect it was probably in the first period, based on what I'm hearing. But yeah, I don't know that I noticed anything from him that would indicate that there was anything holding him back. So yeah, let's do a quick. We'll do a quick out of town scoreboard, guys, for you. There's a few games tonight. 9 minutes left in the third period. The Capitals and Penguins are now tied at 3. The Penguins had gone up 3-0. So Tom Wilson, Rasmus Sandin, and Dylan Strome have now scored for the Capitals. Sidney Crosby has a pair of goals on the power play, and Anthony Mantha also scored for the Penguins. The Flyers lead the Predators 2-1 after 2 periods. Noah Cates and Matvei Michkov with just his second of the year. Ryan O'Reilly has the only goal for the Predators. The Ducks and Stars. The Ducks lead 4-3 after 2. Zellweger, Gauthier, Ian Moore, and Chris Kreider for Anaheim. Wyatt Johnson has a pair of power play goals for the Stars, as does Tyler Seguin. Tyler Seguin has the other goal for the Stars. Later tonight, finals tonight, we got 3-2 Bruins over the Senators. Amadio and Giroux for Ottawa. Zaka, Karali, and Geeky for the Bruins. The Blues shut out the Sabres 3-0, despite getting outshot 28-17. The goals for St. Louis, Mathieu Joseph, Nick Bukestad, and Justin Falk into the empty net. And the Hurricanes took out the Wild by a 4-3 score. Boldy had a pair of goals for the Wild, as did Matt Boldy have a hat trick tonight? Oh no, Brock Faber. Matt Boldy had a pair of goals. Brock Faber had the third goal. And for the Hurricanes, it was Jackson Blake, Andrei Svechnikov, Sean Walker, and Nikolai Ehlers with his second of the year. So that's a 4-3 final. Hurricanes over the Wild. Is it 4-3 Pens now? You are correct. It is 4-3 for the Pens. They just scored. That's not Sidney Crosby. Brian Rust with the power play goal from Evgeny Malkin. And it was Kindle with an assist, and it looks like they just took the Kindle assist away from him. So not sure Ottawa will make the playoffs, says Billy D. Well, let's talk about that, guys. That's a what do we think about Ottawa? Do we agree with Billy D that there's a possibility that they don't make the playoffs this year? Do we think that the Canadiens have leapfrogged Ottawa? Are the Canadiens now sort of higher on the totem pole when it comes to the Atlantic Division? Have they leapfrogged the Senators? Have they leapfrogged the Toronto Maple Leafs? What do we think about that? Ottawa is struggling a little bit. They haven't got very good goaltending so far this year. Evidently, the injury to Brady Tkachuk has affected them negatively, as you would expect it to. Again, the Senators just appear to be a team with some good players, but not really much direction. I've been a critic of their organization for some time. I'm not a big fan of the way that they've run their operation there, whether it's management or the coaching staff. I think it's been in shambles for quite some time. I thought that the ownership or the new ownership would have made a bit of a difference. However, frankly, the decisions with respect to the hiring decisions they've made with respect to their GM and their coaches, to me, has been a little uninspiring. I don't, Travis Green, I'm sure, knows his hockey and he's been around the sport for a long time, but I just don't. I don't really see him as being the guy who's going to come in and inspire that young group to new levels. I could say the same for Steve Stais. I don't feel like there's a great vision there for that team. I don't think they have, a direction. They don't have much of an identity. They've got, some really good hockey players. They've got, Jake Sanderson and Tim Stützle and Brady Tkachuk, and Shabbat has kind of underachieved, I think, but he really hasn't lived up to his hype. They've made a few good moves, but they don't really have a long-term plan, it doesn't seem, or long-term identity, or there's just again, there doesn't seem to be a consistent approach to running that team. You're with me. I'm with you, Billy D. I'm with you. I couldn't agree with you more. Like, I think that in today's NHL, you can't just, put together a roster of players that you think are really good. You have to put together a team, and that means, not just putting together a roster that has chemistry and works together, but also, putting together a group that has chemistry, that gets along with each other, that, there's so much more to sports and hockey nowadays, that you can't just sort of be a team that, again, Toronto struggled with this. I mean, obviously Toronto's a very good team. They've done well. They've made the playoffs. They've done, but they've been a team that just, they're a team that their individual parts are greater than the sum, right? The opposite of what you want to be, right? You want the sum to be better than the individual parts. In their case, in Ottawa's case, I feel like, their parts are of a greater value than they are as a team. If you're over on TikTok, guys, come on over to YT and check out our YT channel, Recliner Sports 4. If you have questions, comments, join us over here. I definitely don't want to be just talking at you guys. I'd much rather, have a conversation where we're all participating. So come on over here and ask us some questions. Hunter says Tampa's possibly missing the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, anything's possible. I mean, I think, things are definitely up in the air, as far as, the NHL in general is concerned, but certainly the Atlantic Division is going through a bit of an evolution right now, I would say. It's funny, at the beginning of last year, everybody seemed to have their ideas of, the question always last year was, if you asked me, if I suggested that the Canadiens were going to make the playoffs, the typical response was always, well, who's not going to make it, right? Who's going to come out if they go in? And I don't think anybody expected the Bruins to struggle the way they did last year, although, the writing was a little bit on the wall. But, there's always a few surprises every year, right? Boston was a bit of a surprise last year. I think the Rangers were a surprise last year. So, anything can really happen. The Lightning, I think, are potentially a team that might be aging out a little bit, in the sense that, some of their best players are getting a little bit older. And, the question is, I mean, obviously some players play better into their 30s and, can last a little bit longer than others. But, there's certainly, once you get into that sort of mid to late 30s situation, you can kind of start to, some guys can start to sort of, their performance falls off, or they start to, their bodies start to give way on them. And, the question is that going to happen in Tampa? Now, Tampa has pretty good. They're pretty strong organizationally. They've got one of the better GMs in the league, I would say. They've obviously got a pretty solid coach. So, that's a team that I think, has a long-term vision and has a bit of a plan. And we'll see, what that plan looks like. But at the same time, it's hard for a team like that to move. Sometimes you have to make some pretty tough decisions, and they've made some of them, right? They moved on from Stamkos, which probably wasn't an easy thing to do. But if you do want to continue to be, perennially in contention, sometimes you have to make tough decisions and move off from some of your guys who've been around for a while, and guys who've contributed a lot to your organization. Sometimes you have to be prepared to move on from them. The other thing I would say with Tampa is I love certain aspects of Kucherov's game. I think he's an extraordinarily talented hockey player, and any team would be lucky to have a guy with Nikita Kucherov's skill. But I don't know that he's the kind of guy I mean, I was going to say he's not the kind of guy you would want to go to war with. That's tough to say for a guy that's won a couple Stanley Cups, right? Like it's a couple Stanley Cups, one Stanley Cup, couple Stanley Cups. He's obviously won it, but he's not the kind of guy who I feel like you would want to be in a situation of adversity with. How about that? Does that make sense? Like he's not, he's great when things are going really, really well, but he's not the kind of guy that is gonna, if you're down by a goal or two, he's not the guy who's going to dig down and, show a lot of heart and help bring you back. I don't feel that from him. I don't know if you agree with me on that, but I could be completely off base with that, but that's just my sense. Thoughts on the Ducks so far this season? Yeah, they're playing well. They just went up 5-3 on the Stars. I'm not a huge fan of the Ducks rebuild. I think that they've made some. I think they've made some major mistakes with the Ducks rebuild. I don't like Joel Quenneville there. I don't think Joel Quenneville should be coaching in the NHL. But also, I just don't feel like he's the guy you would bring in to coach a young team, a rebuilding team. I don't think he's a teacher type. I don't think he's a guy who is going to inspire and motivate a young team. I think that I would much rather bring in somebody who's going to be able to relate a little bit better to the younger players. Them bringing Cronin in the first place was a huge mistake. I think that Pat Verbeek has an idea of what he wants his team to be like, and I don't think his vision is consistent with building a young or rebuilding a young team, right? He wants his team to be, big and tough and, Radko Gudas and Chris Kreider and Jacob Trouba and these guys. But, that's not what's gonna win for you in this NHL. So I don't know. I think they're doing well this year, better than expected, but I really don't feel confident in the direction that their rebuild is going in overall. Guys like Travis Green and Dallas Eakin, how can they be coaches when they have not much experience yet get head coaching jobs around the league? Don't they have losing records as a coach? Yeah, I don't think you have to be overly experienced in order to coach in the NHL. I think we're seeing that in Montreal with a very inexperienced coach coming in and doing a good job. For me, I just I don't like this idea that you're just going to bring in a guy because he used to play in the league and he probably was a buddy of the general manager and he might have some relationship going back somewhere down the road or like it's just this old boys club that goes on in the NHL where you get these coaches that get recycled from one team to the other. I think sometimes, especially with younger teams, I think you're much better served to go and get a guy who can bring in a bit of a fresh perspective, be more of a teacher. I think you see a lot of these guys, coming from college, especially, who are in a position to play that role. These guys who are, who come up more with a teaching approach to hockey than sort of an old school traditional hockey approach to it, if that makes any sense. I think that David Carl someday is gonna make a pretty good NHL coach. There's I can't think of his name off the top of my head. The young coach at the University of Michigan. I think he could be a guy who who someday does a good job in the NHL as well. But there's probably 3 or 4 or 5 guys around the NCAA that would, again, just the way the way you have to operate in the NCAA, I think prepares you very well to take the leap to the NHL. It was nice to see the other 3 lines get a goal tonight. Yeah, it was, but I will say that I don't think that the first line, if we're calling it that, the Suzuki line, had their best game tonight. But again, I think that might be an indication of how good the Devils are as well, to shutting them down. Nico Hischier is a pretty tough guy to play against, as is Timo Meier. I think I would have wanted to see a little bit more out of Ivan Demidov tonight on the offensive side of things. But again, 19-year-old kid, special talent, but you can't really expect him to, light the world on fire every single night. So it was nice to see the other lines get involved. I think that the Evans, Anderson, I guess tonight would have been Veleno line. I thought they were good tonight. Evans, I think I want to see Evans get some of his confidence back a little bit. I want to see, last year he was trying stuff, right? He would fire the puck at the net, or he would try to make that pass to the front of the net. Like tonight, there was a couple of occasions where he was going to the net with another guy, and he turned it back. Whereas last year he would have tried to make that pass, and it might have worked out. He finally did take a shot on goal and was able to score. And it was good to see that, but I think he's been a little bit overly cautious for my liking. Let's get to the scoreboard, guys. We'll do a quick run through the scoreboard. Again, I said 4-3 for the Devils in overtime. Again, back-to-back losses for the Canadiens. We'll just go through the scoreboard here real quick, and then we'll move on and we'll do the A-team. If you have any thoughts on the A-team, let me know what they are, and we'll talk about them when we get there. So the Devils opened the scoring on a goal from Cody Glass unassisted at about the 2-minute mark. It looked like, we might be in for a bit of, the same thing as the previous game. Not the greatest goal for Jakub Dobeš to allow. And it was early 1-0 lead for the Devils. The Devils, I think, carried the play in the first period. They were the better team. I think the Canadiens weren't as bad in the first period as they were in the game against Philadelphia, but they certainly were not good by any means either. They did manage to come back. Doc scored on, I don't even know how that puck ended up in the net. About a minute after the Cody Glass goal, assisted by Dobson and Matheson. Again, a completely fluky goal, but they all count, and again, Kirby Dach going to the net, good things happen, and it did there. So the score after one was tied 1-1. I think the Canadiens probably were outplayed by the Devils in that first period. Second period, Andre Palat with a goal from Nemitz and Chalowski at 8:05. So they head into the third period. Canes played a little better in the second period, I would say. Not great, but and the Devils probably still were the better team in the second period as well. But the Canadiens do go into the third period down by just the one goal. Early in that third period, Jake Evans scores on a goal from Anderson and Dobson 1 minute into the period, and the score is tied all of a sudden. Then Kapanen and Newhook partner up to score a really nice goal off the cycle down low. Newhook gets the puck to Kapanen, I think it was Newhook got the puck to Kapanen. Kapanen puts the puck on net. Newhook chips it over, and then Kapanen scores on the rebound at 10:33. And the Canadiens all of a sudden are in the lead, and it looks like they're playing a little bit better. And you think, okay, they're rolling a little bit here. Maybe they're going to pull this win out. Unfortunately, Timo Meier tied the game up with about 1 minute and 10 seconds left on a 6-on-5 situation with the goalie pulled. A bit of a scramble in front of the net. Mike Matheson blocked a shot and was, basically playing on one leg. And so the Canadiens were kind of like 1.5 men short, and they got the puck in front of the net. The puck went into Dobeš. Dobeš wasn't able to cover it up, and then Meier got the puck at the side of the net and was able to chop it up over top of Jakub Dobeš. That was at 18:50, and the score was tied. They go into overtime. The Canadiens lose the opening face-off. The Devils kind of ragged the puck around a little bit. The Canadiens never really got any serious opportunities. I think they did manage to get the puck at one point, but not really much going on. Turnover, Jesper Bratt goes in, scores at 1:33, and that's all she wrote. 4-3 final in the overtime period over the Montreal Canadiens. Again, back-to-back losses in extra time. Canadiens do manage to get points out of each of the last two games, but unfortunately they're on the losing end in back-to-back games for the first time this year. The Corsi tonight, 42 for the Canadiens, 60 for the Devils. I think that is as much a factor of the fact that the Devils had 5 power plays tonight to the Canadiens 2, really just 1 power play for the Canadiens when you really think about it, given that the one of the 2 penalties that the Devils took was canceled out by a subsequent penalty about 20 seconds into the power play. So officially 5-2 on the power plays tonight. Realistically, it was more like 4-1. The Corsi, so the puck possession did certainly favor the Devils. The shots were 28-19. Again, 4 power plays to 1. You're probably going to see that. The hits were 19-14 in favor of the Devils. The Canadiens, again, everyone was really concerned that the Canadiens were going to struggle in the faceoff circle this year, but tonight they dominated, and they've done relatively well, all things considered, in the faceoff circle this year. Tonight, 38-23 faceoffs, high danger chances. So the Canadiens overall did have more high danger scoring chances than the Devils did, 9-8, and the expected goals were basically equal, right around 2 and 2.2 each. Neither of the goalies played their best game tonight, I wouldn't say. I think both of those goalies would say there were a few goals they would like to have back, and both would have finished with negative expected goals against on the game tonight. So that's the story on the scoreboard, guys. We'll go back to here, and we'll have a little chat. Got a couple comments here. Actually, just the one comment from Randy. Randy is giving his prediction on the A team for tonight. He has Anderson, Evans, Dobson, and Jack-I. Okay. Give me your reasoning on Jack-I. I'm not disagreeing with you on that, Randy, but I'd be curious to know what you saw from Jack-I tonight that has him on the A team for you. I will say that my A team is a little bit different than yours. I think we have, we've got 2. We agree on 2 guys of the 4, but 2 of my guys are different than what you have. So yeah. Anybody else have any thoughts on the game? Again, like I said, I'd love for you to give me your comments and your questions, because I'd much rather, talk with you guys, have a conversation than just sort of ramble on here. I guess we can get to the A team now if you want. I was kind of going to hold off on it a little bit, but maybe we'll just go to it right away. Anybody else? No? There's not very many people in here. I think Coach is probably still... Yeah, Coach is still going. Coach is in his 5th hour on his live, I guess. Hour number 5 for Coach. When did he start? Yeah, Coach has been on since about half an hour before the game, so anyways, nothing you can do about it. All right, let's do the A team then. A team tonight, guys. Here we go. So these are my selections for the A team tonight, guys. I have Joe Veleno, Jake Evans, Noah Dobson, and Kirby Dach. Again, Veleno and Evans, a good indication, of what Randy, you were talking about earlier. Nice to see the, some of the other lines getting involved tonight. Veleno, I thought, just played really, really well tonight. He was skating well. He was getting involved. No point production, but really for him, you want to see him hustling on the forecheck. Playing solid game in the neutral zone. I think his expected goals percentage was near the top of the team tonight. Yeah, him and Jake Evans were 1 and 2, so he had a 67% expected goals for percentage. Jake Evans had a 78% expected goals for percentage. So yeah, both of those guys on that line I thought played well tonight. Anderson also could have deserved a mention. but I thought those two guys really stood out. Evans on the penalty kill as well, right? You've got to, when you kill, well, I guess 4.5, we'll call it, power plays against one of the best power plays in the NHL. You got to give some credit there. I think Jake Evans deserves some credit there. I think you probably could have given some credit to Mike Matheson. Mike Matheson probably would be another name that could be on this team tonight. I am still waiting, Randy, to see or hear what it is that you saw that led you to have have Arbor Jackeye on yours. Not that I disagree with you. I'm just interested to know what it is that you saw from him tonight. Noah Dobson, again, a solid game from him. 66% on the expected goals for percentage. 2 assists. Skated well. Just did his job. He and Matheson together, they've become a pretty solid tandem, and they cover for each other. They're both really good skaters. Dobson just was really, really solid tonight. A lot of poise in his own end, moving the puck out. A lot of controlled exits from his own zone. Whether it's on the breakout pass or just skating with the puck, I just thought he looked really, really good going back and retrieving the puck and sort of turning back calmly and getting it out of his end when he needed to. And Kirby Dach is just playing great hockey right now. I mean, he obviously, I think, still has room to grow. I think he still has, room to go in order to get to where he once was, sort of going back 2 or 3 years before all of his injury problems or his major injury problems. I still think he's, he still has more to give to get to that. But I think, he is playing, well beyond what I think many people would have expected from him. I always knew he had this in him. I didn't know whether he'd be able to do it or not. But, I think that more and more we're realizing that he is, he is going to be a factor, an impact player, somebody who is relevant on this Montreal Canadiens team as it moves forward, right? Again, he's skating much better. He's making better decisions. He just looks like he's more confident out there. He's playing better in his own end. He's winning more board battles. He's using his size. That big, not just his size, like physically, but also like his reach, using his stick to get, to get in the way of passes and create some congestion in those areas and create turnovers. I just think he looks really, really good out there now. And now the offense is starting to come a little bit for him as well. He's getting, those offensive opportunities, right? He's doing the ordinary things that allow him or give him the opportunity to start doing some of the fun, extraordinary things. So that's my A team for tonight. Joe Veleno, Jake Evans, Noah Dobson, Kirby Dach. Those are the 4 players that I've decided or I felt like were the biggest contributors for the Canadiens. If there's anybody you think that I missed that deserves a mention on that A team, let me know. If there's anybody you feel like I put on there that I included on my A team that doesn't deserve to be there, then I'd love to hear that as well. I'm happy to have the conversation. Randy has indicated that he has Anderson and Jackeye on there as opposed to Veleno and who was my other? As opposed to Veleno and Doc, and he also has some comments here about why he has Jackeye. Jackeye able to forecheck and no turnovers. Able to move the puck to the forwards. Yeah, I thought Jackeye had a much better game. I think he had. I don't think he played badly in the last game either, but I thought he had a good game. Yeah, he had again where Jackeye often struggles is decision making in his own end, playing within the defensive system. Sort of getting all over the place in his own end. Making some bad decisions, making some, bad passes, turnovers in his own end. And tonight I thought he looked like he, was a little bit more under control, was making some good decisions, wasn't rushing, wasn't getting panicked, and looked a lot better. He played, he played just under 10 minutes, so he didn't have a ton of ice time. But Carrier only had 11 minutes. What does Struble have? Struble played 16 minutes tonight. So, Carey and Xhekaj both got the short end of the stick, or the low end of the stick on the ice time tonight. But I do agree with you, Randy. He did look decent tonight. 52% on the expected goals for percentage. That's that's definitely a positive for him. And again, I think you hear Marty St. Louis talk about stacking games, right? The thing with Xhekaj is he's going to have to start stacking games, right? Not just having one good game where he looks comfortable and like he needs to start having game after game after game after game after game where he looks like he belongs out there, and he looks like the guy who who could be that long-term third pair defenseman for this team. I think I'm a huge Xhekaj fan, and I think that there's definitely a place for him, and I think there's definitely I think he can be and should be a member of this team going forward. I'm not one of those guys who feels like they should be looking to move on from him. I've never made that. I really like Struble, but if I had to pick between Xhekaj and Struble, I think I would prefer Xhekaj. But again, on the understanding that I feel like Xhekaj has a bigger runway, a higher ceiling. There's more there from him that we have yet to see. So yes, guys. So there's the A team, guys. I know it's not a lot of action here tonight, Randy. I apologize. It's just like it's just me and you. I think Hunter might be in here as well, but all of the crew from the Coach Frenchie show are still all over there. So I really don't know what more to offer you guys here tonight. I wish there was more conversation, more that we could talk about. I'm doing a show on YT user 591. That's why I'm not addressing your question. If you want to join the show, you can come on over to our YT channel. So yeah, I think that's going to be pretty much it for tonight's show, guys. So thank you very much for coming by, Randy. I do appreciate, as always, the questions and the comments. If you're watching the show on a replay, then I certainly would invite you to hit the button down below, the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. We're trying to grow the community here. We're coming up on 500 subscribers, and it certainly would be awesome to get there, and it would help if you would hit that subscribe button. We would certainly get there quicker. Merci beaucoup tout le monde. C'était notre émission. Si vous regardez l'émission après, dans le replay, vous pouvez pousser sur le bouton en bas pour devenir membre de l'émission. Nous essayons d'avoir 500 membres ici, alors on a besoin encore environ une trentaine de souscriantes. I don't know how to say that word in French. I'm not good at that word. Alors, si vous voulez pousser sur le bouton en bas, ça va nous aider, ça va rendre notre famille plus gros, et c'est une bonne place pour avoir des conversations au sujet des Canadiens de Montréal. So that's it for tonight, guys. I do appreciate everybody for coming. Pop by on Saturday night. We will be here after the game on Saturday as well. We do try to go live as often as possible after most Montreal Canadiens games. We do look forward to seeing you. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you're watching live or in a replay, I have enjoyed having the conversations with you. So we will see you guys in the next one, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Peace out.
To Hoffman, Monahan parked in front, docks to Caulfield, fires, scores!
You are about to enter Habs After Dark